Hi, I am Bridge and welcome to E4M and MartechAI.com. And today with me is CMO of Perfetti Van Melle, Mr. Gunjan Khetan. Thank you so much for giving us your time. Mr. Khetan, is no stranger to the world of marketing. He has been at the helm of, pioneering marketing strategies grounded in data, technology, and deep consumer insight. Thank you again for giving us time. Interestingly, we saw how Perfetti has very recently done, a campaign in tier 2, tier 3 cities in sync with Bharat GPT. Can you tell us more about that? How did you use, artificial intelligence to market your products?
So first of all, thank you so much for the kind introduction. I really appreciate this forum and this platform to be able to talk about our initiatives. I think Perfetti as an organization is always known for two things. One is clutter-breaking advertising and how we market our products. As a portfolio of brands which reaches out to the nooks and corners of India, one of the things we have always struggled with is how do we reach some parts of rural where even TV hasn't reached. More importantly, we keep talking about smartphone penetration and data is so cheap. But the reality is there are some states like UP and Bihar where smartphone penetration and internet accessibility is less than 50%. Okay? We have brands like Center Fruit and Center Fresh, which are huge in rural, right? And to that extent, it's always a challenge to be able to speak to these people and tell them about the brand and continue to re-engage them and continue to re-motivate them in buying our products. And the entrepreneurial team that we have, they've always been looking for solutions. And we came across this brilliant platform with the help of our media agency WPP, where you can reach out to these audiences without a need of access to TV, access to smartphone, or access to internet. Okay? And this is where Google as a platform and Bharat GPT as an AI solution comes in. Essentially what it does is, if you remember the old age engagement using telephone where there used to be IVR, you would press a button and you would get responses. So this is a modernized AI-led version of that. So if you are from one of those small districts or villages, you get a call from our platforms. Okay? And you can either choose to pick up the call or call us back. Right, and when you call us back, there's an AI solution at the other end that starts engaging with you. To be able to build it back to the brand, we built this contest called Jeep Lapai contest in line with the campaign of Kaise Jeep Lapai, which is essentially engaging audiences with tongue twisters. So you call that number, there is an AI voice at the other end that says whether you want to play the tongue twister game or do you want to ask me a question. Okay. You can choose to do either. The best thing about this model that was built with Bharat GPT and has been trained purely on the base of India, which is very rare. Most of the AI models are trained on English speaking or international cohorts. But this is a model that has been trained in India by India, right? So therefore, we could do this in local dialects. Okay, so it's not just speaking in Hindi, but the dialect of Eastern UP versus Western UP, and within Eastern UP, a particular region, we got it that sharp with our campaign.
That's the beauty of AI.
Correct. So we train the model to speak in local dialects, and if you choose not to engage with our tongue twisters, the AI model could hear your question and figure out an answer on the fly and generally have a conversation with you. So for example, if you choose to ask a question, when do you think we'll get rain? Okay. Which is quite common for UP and the farmers from there. the AI model is smart enough to tell you that rain will happen whenever it will happen, but more importantly, if you see center fruit, okay, you will start salivating, and that is when the rain starts. Okay, so there are always funny takes on every question that also links back to the brand. So in a nutshell, I think it's a big industry first initiative that we did. It opens up an opportunity as well as a challenge for all the young marketeers in India to start leveraging AI in a more constructive way, in a much more engaging way, and also understand how you can play around with AI depending on the business objective you want to solve. So I'm quite proud of this breakthrough work that this team has done. And as next step, the question is how do we scale this? How do we bring down the cost of this platform? And as industry evolves, as more and more brands take part in this, hopefully these kind of initiatives will get scaled.
At a recent forum, you have you mentioned that AI is a mass enabler and not a luxury, and I think that the campaign that you guys did was reflective of that. However, my next question is that FMCG as a sector, the penetration of artificial intelligence is not as much as it would see in other sectors, primarily because the products are more retail based. With Perfetti, in fact, your SKVs are more around 1 rupee, 5 rupee, etc. So, what's the challenge right now that you're facing in integrating artificial intelligence into marketing? One, because a lot of conversations that you would have with senior leaders in India or globally would now revolve around data, would now revolve around ROI. So, as a marketer, how difficult has it become being in a sector which is a late adopter of AI in marketing, but then the conversation is slowly changing?
I think these are fantastic questions, and I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to this. ROI is always a challenge, and on the ROI piece, I don't have a specific answer because the nature of the product that we have and the business model we have, we don't do performance marketing. We are not big in D2C. But ROI continues to be a challenge for every marketer, including me, where I have to stand up in front of my CEO and the CFO and explain the returns of every investment I've done. Having said that, I think the luxury that we have in CPG marketing is the fact that there is an increased awareness in the organization, in the industry, that there are spends to be done for brand building and there's spends to be done for traditional performance marketing, which is spends that give you immediate returns, right? And to that extent, you get a bandwidth to experiment with some of these initiatives from an angle of brand building, right? And that is where this particular initiative that we talked about a couple of minutes back sits. Our objective there was to build engagement with the brand, okay, in areas where audiences don't even get to know of our brands, right? So against that objective, this AI model served. If it was a performance marketing objective, I don't know if it would have worked. Now coming back to your first question, which is why is FMCG a late adopter? See, essentially FMCG is a product business, not a service business, right? And you will see most of the adoption has happened in service business, whether it's customer service, whether it's technology, or so on and so forth, or maybe D2C platforms, right, which are essentially technology led. For us, it's a bit difficult, and that's where it's a big call out to the industry to build use cases the way we did with the center fruit experiment. But having said that, I'm sure there are many ways in which AI can be used. AI can be used to do researches. AI can be used to target your consumers sharper. AI can be used to create personalities of your core consumers that you can then take back to platforms like Meta and Google and try and drive awareness. So there are many things that get unlocked once you start playing around with AI. I, for example, every morning use one of the AI models to tell me what's happening in the digital world and what are the top 5 things that are going viral today. So if I catch something early in the morning, I can come back to the team and say, okay, let's rework our social calendar for the day and see how we can jump on this trend. So there are many small things we can definitely do, but the breakthrough interventions would happen if the technology world, if your media agencies, and if the marketers all come together and are equally risk-taking and bold.
What were the results that you saw of the Bharat GPT campaign?
As I said, the objective was not financial. The objective was to build awareness. While we are still gathering information on because it was so deep in the POPs data, the engagement levels on the brand have been high. We did a BLS study. The BLS study results are fantastic. So overall, we are quite satisfied. The question that we have is how do we scale this initiative, and which are the next brands that can get onto these kind of platforms.
So are your ML AI tools, I'm sure you would be using, if not at a grander level, are they collecting data? Are they letting you know which cities to penetrate in terms of marketing, which towns to penetrate in terms of marketing?
It depends on the objective and the prompt you set up in the AI model. So different people are using these models for different reasons and in different ways. I can tell you there are some brand managers that are doing exactly the same thing as you said. There are other brand managers who are just trying to understand what are the trends that are going live, right? Like me, for example. I think one of the other places where we have used AI more effectively, which I'm again very proud of, is media cost optimization, where we have moved buying from, especially on platforms like Google, etc., from an hourly bid to instant bid. We are constantly looking to optimize our bid based on what's happening, and this is where AI comes in. So again, there are many ways in which AI model can help you slice, dice, optimize, right? And it's upon us to figure out what are the best use cases. I can tell you, we are far from perfect, but where I'm very proud of the work that Perfetti and the teams in Perfetti is doing is we are trying to experiment a lot.
And if you could just tell us more about it, because you have been, in the sector for some time. Where do you think the next step when it comes to Martech innovations? What is in your mind that would probably do next?
It's very difficult to gaze in the crystal ball on this because AI is evolving on very short notice, right? But what would make me happy if more and more content moves to AI, okay, and in-house. Therefore, what would make me happy is media that is super optimized. What would make me happy is if I can go after my consumers in a sharp, targeted way and therefore improve ROI of my campaigns. What would make me happy, and this is a far-fetched thought, if TV planning can get integrated with AI. Okay,
you have talked about CTV as well in the past.
Yeah, and then there's CTV. But even traditional TV, and I don't know if it's even possible because traditional TV works in a very different
model.
Right. But if I know that this audience is watching this program at this time with these many people, and therefore I need to be there, that would be wonderful. What would make me happy is how do we research and learn from everything that's going across the world and be able to respond on a very short notice. And the other 4 examples that I gave you really build into this. If I see a trend in the morning, then I can go into an AI model, build a social content around it, and quickly use my AI model to find out which platform do I show this content on, at what time, at what price. See how everything is coming together when it comes to AI.
As a senior marketer, how has your role evolved? In fact, I was discussing with your team earlier as well how, even 5-6 years ago, marketers were very psychology driven. They would, the whole conversation was very psychology driven. But today it is increasingly becoming data driven. So how has that role evolved, and what pressures has that put on you as a marketer? Try to evolve yourself, try to reskill yourself. And it's such a dynamic field that today there's something, tomorrow you need to learn something new. So how has a marketer's role evolved?
I think I've been fortunate, and I'm sure many marketers would say that this is a field that by force or by choice has to be very agile. I remember back in early 2000 when I started my career, life as a marketer was fairly simple. You do one campaign in 3 years and you put it on TV and just look at the TV media plan and just ensure that the media plan is getting executed and you start seeing results. When I look at my brand manager today, I see what the poor kid is dealing with in terms of being on top of creating great content, then great TV advertising, then TV media, then digital media, then influencers, then AI, and how do you integrate technology into marketing. And I want to go on record to say life as a marketer today for brand managers is many times more tough than what I had. And I really appreciate all the work that today's brand managers are doing. It's not easy. It's easy for me to, and people like me, CMOs in other organizations, tell them what's right, what's wrong. But their life is super tough. And to that extent, the best thing that they can do to self-serve is to learn, to upscale, to experiment, and be in step with technology and AI, and use AI as a means to an outcome. And the faster you adapt, the easier it would be for you to stand out from the crowd. I remember a few years back, a very senior person in my previous organization had told me that in 5 to 10 years, there won't be brand managers, there will only be brand custodians and performance managers. Right? In a way, obviously it was a very, very controversial statement, but I think he was trying to drive home a point, and it was less about the semantics of what he said. And that is kind of true. I mean, the world is divided into performance marketing and brand marketing today. And the way technology is evolving, you see in some way these two things are assimilating and coming together. Brand marketing is getting also technology led now, right? So I think it's a tough job. I think the best thing all of us can do is to be as dynamic, as agile as possible, and learn and try and upskill and experiment.
But while it is making difficult, in terms of skilling or reskilling as a marketer, or as to where you are looking and who you are answerable to, it's also making things easy, because now you might have or might get data of the regions where you wouldn't have initially. Social listening tools, right? Earlier a marketer used to work on their instinct, but now there actually is data available, and I think that can make life very easy for a marketer.
Yes and no. Okay, you are absolutely right. Again, going back 20 years, there was so much data I used to deal with and do a lot of analysis myself. Now you feed in a request in a model and it tells you, it does the analysis and tells you what's happening. But at the same time, think about it, while data analysis has become easy, but the knowledge that is coming your way every second is from so many different corners. And just because you have easy assimilation and inciting available, that doesn't mean that your life is easy. It's just that you have to now deal with so many insights. Okay, now which one do you choose, right? To that extent, life has become a bit tough for brand managers. But yes, every step that mankind has made towards the future has positives and negatives. Industrialization was great in many ways, but now you see what happens in December in Gurgaon, right? So there will always be pitfalls and opportunities to everything that we do. It's how you navigate and your perspective on things.
It would be interesting for our viewers if you could just, which campaign of Perfetti do you think was the most interesting till date, in your experience?
That's a tough one. It's like choosing between all the babies. That I won't do. But
There's one baby who's favorite.
No, there's no baby that's favorite. But I think some of the older campaigns that I have really liked, which I wished I could have worked on, was the Center Shock campaign, the Dimag Ke Batti Jala De campaign. Those were really iconic campaigns in the industry. Funnily enough, 2-3 years back, I was in the States, and we used to, all the NRIs used to get together on weekends, and over a drink, we would sometimes play Perfetti ad reels on YouTube because it was just so funny. Okay, and all of us had grown around those times in India, so it's the work this organization has done is really iconic. It resonates, it's relevant, and as a marketer, you always wish you were the one who did that work.
So, is there a Martech stack that you guys are using right now? Or?
No, we largely rely on our third party as well as our media agency, WPP.
Okay, so is there any Martech stack, Salesforce, HubSpot that you're using right now in terms of third party as well, or no?
I would hesitate from answering that question because mostly through WPP and some of our partners. And it tends to vary depending on your objective. Okay. For example, with the Bharat GPT campaign, it was a completely different stack.
Moving the debate slightly towards personalization versus privacy. I know FMCG has been a late adopter. However, for those who have been, adopting this, there's been a lot of conversation around penetrating certain users' privacy, especially with omnichannel personalization. What are your thoughts on that? Where do you draw the line? I know there are acts like DPDP. There are there are acts globally as well. However, we've always learned that social listening is going beyond a certain wall, a certain level which it shouldn't have crossed. Where are your thoughts based on that as a marketer?
I think it's an interesting question that not just India but as a society we are still finding answers to. There are multiple stakeholders. There's government, there are people, there's technology firms. It would be a bit premature for me to take a stand this way or that. As Perfetti, one of the things we do is we are always constantly reviewing the regulations, not just in India but also across the world, because we are headquartered in Europe and we need to balance the regulations of our headquarters as well as local country. And our focus as an organization as well as a marketing community has always been to put regulations first.
You're also an angel investor. You have invested. Is there any startup that you think currently in marketing technology or AI that excites you a lot? Have you been scouting that? I'm sure there are many startups. I'm sure there's good work happening, but unfortunately, I've not come across any startup that you felt like investing into.
Yes, so I will use this forum to call out to people who are working in space of AI or media. Please ping me on LinkedIn. I'll at least be interested in hearing you out, and if I have enough money, maybe.
Globally, I have learned, Perfetti is using a lot in, AI in marketing. I think globally FMCG has adopted. When do you think that will come into India in the mainstream for Perfetti and for FMCG? Because I was talking to Chandan Mukherjee of Nestle and he said, on record, he supposedly said that 25 to 30% of their budgets are currently going into tech and AI in marketing.
Yeah, considering the nature of the audiences we have, which is slightly on the younger side, tech and digital is big for us. We do invest substantial amount, and it's a healthy balance of traditional as well as new age media. We also do use a lot of influencers. AI is an evolving topic. We are also trying to find our feet on how to engage with AI, how much data to be fed into AI, and then there are regulations, privacy, etc. So we don't have an exact answer for this. We are still working both internally with our group colleagues to find the right answers.
Would that also impact your hiring? Would you be now more interested in AI skilled managers than MBA skilled managers?
It's a tough one. I think it's not either or. Just going back to some of the conversation we had, it's important that everyone is upskilled with evolving tech, even if it's a production manager on the floor, or someone in sales in the front line, or a marketeer, or a legal person. Everyone, I believe, should be upskilling themselves on what's happening from a technology perspective or artificial intelligence perspective in their field. So that definitely gives people an edge, and more importantly also helps move the organization forward because we don't have all the answers, right?
From Gunjan's lens, where do you see the future of marketing now?
It's going to be bright. I think marketing is not going to go away. As long as there are brands, there will be marketing. The means to the end may be evolving. Technology will play increasingly more roles. Platforms, audiences, and marketers who don't evolve with technology probably will feel left behind, and the world will keep moving forward. Fortunately, unfortunately, and for the better.
Had you not been a marketer, which field?
It's a tough one. I hate to say it on camera, but I love to be behind the camera. Okay, and I love creatives and the whole concept of shooting films and advertising. So I don't know if I have the skills, but that is something that I find very romantic.
As Gunjan rightly said, if you're not on the marketing bandwagon, I think the tech bandwagon, I think you would be left behind in the field of marketing. And something from this company reminds me, you would probably have a center shock. That doesn't happen. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much, Gunjan, for giving us your time.
Thank you so much for
Thank
the
you.
platform.
Thank you, viewers. Thanks.
Thank you.